hence the regrettable fact that your brother's widow now owns a large share of Sanditon.
We are in between the 15 to the 30-minute mark in episode 1 of season 2. Lady Denham is having a conversation with Tom, checking up on the financial aspect of the town of Sanditon. Eliza does have some influence over the town, and Tom definitely needs to keep that in mind. It's kind of awkward though. You have an in-law because of Sydney's marriage to Eliza, right? But since Sydney died, Tom still had that obligation to pay her off. If not, there would be some family drama.
They are brave and noble and heroic.
And frequently handsome. Doubtless some are. Yet I cannot help thinking those qualities are conferred on anyone in a red coat, regardless of what true character lies beneath.
I pulled up the scene because what Charlotte said will play a role later on in season 2. These men are strangers and we don't know their names. The real purpose of why they're in Sanditon, Tom is using this opportunity to hopefully attract them to the inner town of Sanditon and convince them to spend their money in Sanditon to boost up the economy and of course to pile up all the money he could get to pay back Eliza.
Fraser! It appears we've been ambushed.
Have mercy, ladies, we are unarmed and outnumbered.
Forgive us, sir.
I should apologise. The gentleman at his ablutions is not a sight for fair eyes. Colonel Francis Lennox, at your service.
What an introduction of Colonel Lennox. Him being shirtless, walking out of his tent. Charlotte seemed to be a bit intrigued, a bit fascinated with how good he looked, shirtless.
My aide, Captain Fraser.
Ladies.
Charlotte Hayward. My sister, Miss Alison Hayward. Miss Georgiana Lamb.
How'd you do?
Need to strengthen our fortifications, Colonel. We cannot leave ourselves so open to intruders.
Then we have Captain Fraser. Keep an eye on him. They seem to be enjoying this entertainment, I guess, of 3 beautiful ladies visiting them at a random time. They seem to be joking with them, calling them intruders, and I think it's just a flattering way of them enjoying the company of these 3 ladies.
Should we be concerned by your arrival, sir? Does it suggest that Sanditon requires defending?
By no means. But should you receive intelligence of an imminent invasion, Miss Hayward, I hope you will be good enough to share it.
I shall keep my ear to the ground.
I mean, there's no war, there's no anticipated invasion of Sanditon, but Charlotte played along and teased him back about an invasion, and the way he said, like, let me know if there's anything that is going on that needs our attention, so kind of like an open door invitation to maybe a future discussion again with Charlotte.
Will your family be joining you, Colonel?
I have no such attachments.
Ladies, perhaps I might escort you out.
Good day.
You're quite capable of finding your own way out. Thank you, sir.
Alison knows what's up. She is seeing some sparks flying around between Charlotte and Colonel Lennox. Those, initial sparks, attraction, I would say. So that's why Alison asked Colonel Lennox if he has any family or any romantic relationship that he might be in, but he is single. Good to know. Captain Fraser, he seemed to be a nice guy too. They both seem to be gentlemen.
Saints alive, Fraser. Who was that?
Didn't get her name.
What is to be done with you, man?
Captain Fraser was not honest to his colleague. We don't know his colleague's name just yet. He did that because he has his eyes set on someone, and I think it's very obvious that he starting to like a little bit on Alison, and he doesn't want to spill her name just in case if Fraser and his colleague compete for the same lady.
I imagine Lord Babington must be growing impatient for an heir by now.
It's not been so very long.
8.5 months should be ample.
She tried to look happy when she saw that baby in Harris. Usually a newborn baby brings joy and smiles from strangers walking by a baby in Harris. She tried to look happy, but at the same time she seemed sad. And Lady Denham is taking that as like, oh, you know, like it hasn't happened yet. Like, are you sad about it? You haven't got pregnant yet. If there's something medically wrong with you, maybe. Esther doesn't seem to be happy to see that baby in general, because that baby somehow reminds her of something that probably happened in the first year of marriage with Lord Babington.
I succeeded perfectly well at conceiving. I was unable to carry her.
This was all new to the doctor and to Lady Denham at the same time. It was a she. It was a baby girl.
How long ago did you lose the infant?
About a month.
And how far along?
Five and a half months.
So technically she's still in that recovery period. 5.5 months, I mean, that baby was like halfway to full term, so, you know, the body is, you know, human enough, I guess, if that makes sense, where you can see the features of the head and the eyes and the ears and knowing actually the sex of the baby, and it was a baby girl. This is heartbreaking, and this is something that she did not want to happen. No one really wants this to happen ever, like in life in general, but it happened to her and Lord Babington, and I'm pretty sure it was an emotional time, and she's still on this emotional journey while recovering herself and her body.
Doctors told me I came perilously close to losing my own life. They said it would be dangerous, fatal even, to try again. She only made me more determined to prove them wrong.
Esther went through a lot. She went through a lot within like the past 2 years, especially with what she went through with Edward. She was happily married to Lord Babington, and they were in this newlywed bliss, and they got excited over the first baby, the first pregnancy that resulted in a miscarriage, and it was heartbreaking for this couple. But she is very bold and brave, and she knows what she wants, and she's passionate to become a mom someday. So this is who she is, and she's like, you know what, I'm not giving up. Like, I'm still alive, I'm still gonna go for it and get my second chance to be a mom.
I will swallow any pill, subject myself to any treatment. Please. I want to give my husband a child.
This is a very dangerous decision, and I'm wondering if Lord Babington knows about it, and I'm wondering if he's like comfortable to see his wife go through that again and to go through the same pain. Like, as a husband, like, it's normal for him to not support what Esther wants to do, because you don't want to lose your wife. You don't want to lose your wife and the baby at the same time, if that ever happens. Hopefully not. So I'm just curious, you know, what he thinks of this, and if he knows about this, knows Esther's plan to see this other doctor and to get his opinion. The doctor, if you watch the episode, the doctor, like, you should not get pregnant. I wouldn't, you know, put you through this. This is not healthy for you. This is not safe for you. You could die. You can nearly die again if it ever happened. And of course, the doctor doesn't want to hold the responsibility if Esther does die in childbirth the second time around, like if that ever, you know, was going to happen. But Esther is very determined. She knows what she wants, and she really doesn't care about the safety of her body. She wants to be a mom, and she wants to have that happy family with Lord Baberton. Also, at the same time, this is so related to today's time too. I'm pretty sure a woman struggle when this happened to them. Like in this case, Esther, she probably thinking like, I can't even carry my own baby to full term. Like what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? Like, did I deserve this? Like, after all the hell that she went through, especially with Edward, she probably needed that boost, that self-esteem. Like, I can do this. I can make another baby with my husband and, you know, see that baby born alive and well. You know, that picture of being a strong woman to be able to give birth. That's probably another mental battle that she's going through too at the same time. Of course, any woman, any wife don't want to have a kid. Like, of course, they want to have that proud moment of being able to get pregnant and carry the baby to full term and have a successful childbirth, of course. And back in those days, childbirth was a whole different story, right, than in today's time with the modern medicine.
Already made quite an impression. I speak of Colonel Lennox.
Barely exchanged 5 words.
Sometimes that is all it takes.
Alison, can a man and a woman not exchange a passing glance without you supposing them to be in love?
I just want to see you happy again, Charlotte. Is that so wrong?
Alison did pick up something between Charlotte and Colonel Lennox, and it was more than 5 words, Charlotte, FYI. But as a sister, of course, she wants Charlotte to be happy again. Also, it's a compare and contrast. Charlotte already went through that stage with Sydney and falling in love and getting her heart broken. Alison, she might not have any experience just yet in falling in love and getting her heart broken. So throughout season 2, these two girls have different perspectives on love. Like, Alison is cheerful and she's ready to open. And Charlotte, she is closed. She wants to be safe and secure with just herself.
I fear all those books have warped your view of the world. Love is not as simple as you seem to think.
Why should it not be?
What Charlotte said about the book reminded me of when she first met Sydney. Sydney was like, you read too much book, like, you don't know what real life is, like, this is a whole different world in the real life, like, you have no idea, like, you know, what is that, or how it is, or, you know, what to feel, or whatnot. So when Charlotte said, you know, that Alison read too much book, it tells me that it reminded her of what she went through with Sydney. And she thought she knew everything, but she learned a lot about herself and other people when she stepped into Sanditon, especially meeting Sydney. So now Alison is going through that journey that Charlotte went to in season 1, and Charlotte, like, you will realize what I meant, and you will know that the book will be completely different than in real life. Of course, Charlotte wants to protect Alison, like, as an older sister would. But at the same time, Charlotte would give her space, like, you know, you will learn it yourself.
I am no substitute for Sydney, but I make myself useful to Tom. Although I worry for him. He can hardly bring himself to speak Sydney's name.
'Tis unwise to keep grief bottled up.
True.
This is a different side of him. He get a little bit emotional. Nothing wrong with that. She started talking about Sydney's death and how it's affecting Tom. And Tom, so far, Tom seemed to, like, ignore it. Like, he hides it so well about his grief over Sydney's death. So we haven't, like, seen him, like, emotional about it. But it's really interesting to hear about Tom from Arthur's perspective. And it tells us that Tom is having a hard time, but he just hides it really well. And it what a wise statement that Charlotte said. It's not wise to keep your grief, your emotion to yourself. Like, you know, it's better to open up to someone, talk it out, right?
Since we don't have a grave to mark him, I often light a candle in the church and weep like a baby. I always feel much the better for it.
Men nature, they don't really cry unless something major happened that's very sad. And what Arthur said though, how he cried in church, it showed how strong he is. Like, he's not afraid, he's not timid to show that, to cry out. It just showed that other side of Arthur. Like, he's usually happy, but he has those emotional side of him. And nothing wrong with that. It's very tragic death of Sydney, and everyone is taking it in their own ways, and that's okay.
I believe you met your husband here last summer, Lady Babington. Have you any advice for one hoping to find a good match of her own?
Disdain his every word. If he persists, marry him.
In this scene, Allison asked her for that advice, and Charlotte, like, you gotta be kidding me. Allison is like on a mission to find a husband for herself. But what Esther said though, is related to what she went through with Lord Babington.
You remain stubbornly unwed, I see.
Yes, Lady Denham.
Oh, you better hurry up, you'll miss your chance.
There are some women who choose not to marry at all.
Oh, don't be absurd. An unmarried woman is a worthless pariah who brings shame and ruin upon her family.
I guess women had the freedom to be single for eternity, but it would look bad on her family. Georgiana can be single for eternity, and she's different from Charlotte. She has wealth, so it probably doesn't look bad on her if she stays single for good. Compared to Charlotte, she's from a poor family. They're not really that rich, and if she's single forever, it makes the family public image even worse. And of course, she's the oldest child in the family too, right? And higher expectation, like the oldest, should be married off. It just shows that Charlotte is still heartbroken, not only over Sydney's death, but it's just what she went through with Sydney. That breakup was really harsh.
What is it?
Edward.
Dang it, Edward is back. What the kid is doing there? We will talk more later in this video.
I do wish you'd marry me, Arthur. Then I would not have to consider any more of these tedious suitors.
Should I be forced to marry you, it would be top of my list. But it's not for me. I am certain Tom will find you someone worthy.
There's some fans that discuss about the possibility of Arthur and Georgiana becoming a couple. I'm wondering, if that's still a possibility to this day, especially with season 3 around the corner. They are great friends. Season 1, she was annoyed at Arthur for bringing her to the Regatta event, but he wanted the best for her. He supports her as who she is, and she confides in him, he confides in her. So that's why Georgiana, I wish you were a potential shooter, and we already know each other, we trust each other, let's make it happen. But Arthur seemed to be confident in being single at the moment. He did tell Diana, I think at the end of season 1, if you remember, he told her that, he's not in a hurry to marry, maybe yes in the future, but right now he enjoying himself and be with his family.
How? These men do not care who I am. They care only for my fortune. Whereas you, Arthur, treat me with kindness and respect and good humor. I fear you're one of a kind.
Those are the qualities that Georgiana is looking for in a future husband, and none of these tedious suitors are exceeding her expectation. They're not meeting her standards, and what she liked in Arthur, she desired that for her future husband. So who knows if Arthur do end up with Georgiana? I wouldn't mind. I mean, I see the compatibility, like Charles said to Sydney on that boat ride. But yeah, compatibility is important for a relationship, and I can see that between Arthur and Georgiana.
What's your name?
Leo.
Okay, this little troubled kid is named Leo.
Your little brother is very brave.
She is not my brother, she's my cousin.
She?
Leonora. And she's not brave, she's reckless. Jumping in front of a horse is an act of rank stupidity.
I thought she was a boy, no offense, like a boy or a girl. She is very tomboy. She's into the army stuff. If you remember the first episode of season 2, her husband seemed to be not into this whole babysitting, watching over her. She really didn't want to be at the parade. She is another interesting kid in season 2.
Tell me your name.
Miss Augusta Markham.
I'm Charlotte Hayward.
This is quite unnecessary. We could easily have walked. It is not such a distance.
Okay, Augusta. Okay, first of all, you don't seem like a nice kid. Second of all, like, you should appreciate what Charlotte's doing. I mean, actually, the Parker family doing. They basically lend their heritage to Charlotte and these two kids.
I have to ask, your cousin is injured. You do not seem the least troubled by it. Or by the fact she came within an inch of being trampled by a horse.
Yet, she did not. So, I see little point in vexing myself over something which didn't happen.
Number one, Augusta didn't want to go to the parade. She didn't want to watch over Leo, but she had to, but that's her family. Second of all, Leo is a little kid, so if anything happened, I mean, technically Augusta is responsible for Leo's safety. Third of all, it shows that Augusta has little hair in her husband, so she seems to be a tough kid. Maybe she went through a lot. She's not really easygoing for Charlotte in this moment.
I wasn't in danger. You ruined my mission.
Your mission?
I'm a spy for the Spanish army, and you ruined it.
Well then, Leo, I must apologise.
Charlotte, came to the rescue at the right time. But very sweet of Charlotte to apologize, but in the back of her mind, she's like, you almost got killed by a horse.
All the same, I'm sure your mother would rather see you returned in one piece.
Our mothers are dead.
Both of them?
What of it?
Charlotte, of course, like her heart, sunk at that news. Like, oh my goodness, both of you don't have mom. And Augusta, the way she acted, the way she said, what of it, what are you gonna say? It just showed that it's something that still bothers Augusta. It's something that must be really sad that happened to her in her past when her mom died. It must broke her heart. And of course, growing up with a mom, especially if you're a girl, that's a lot of influence, you really don't know much because your mom is not around and you don't have that motherly figure, that motherly advice as you grow up, to be the woman that you should be. It's different when you don't have your mom around, right? So she went through a lot. Leo, she seemed to maybe not be affected that much by her mother's death. I mean, she seemed much younger than Augusta, but I guess it's a good warning information for Charlotte, especially when they are heading toward his house, and Charlotte doesn't know what to expect when she returned these two kids to potentially their father.